Welcome to the Dear Millennials podcast, where we believe everyone has a story. We invite you and our guests to empower others through authentically sharing your greatest moments and most challenging experiences.
No topic is off limits as we discuss everything from entrepreneurship, mental health, relationships, supporting local, current events, business tips, moving your body, and more. We are so glad that you're here. Welcome to Dear Millennials. Do it, do it.
Hi guys, my name is Tina Hong.
I'm Anna Ostrowski, and today we're doing a real talk.
So you guys, last time we talked all about getting the job, how to get in, find your kind of direction and career. I think today we were going to focus more on when you get in the job. What are some things that are maybe going to be red flags, yellow flags, things that you want to make, you want to keep doing? What are some things that you need to be aware of?
Yeah. So I was listening to a podcast this morning during my run and I heard something in it and I was like, that is so good and so true. So I'm going to state it and then I want to know your thoughts on it. And then I have a lot of comments that I feel about it. So she said, it was talking about being a female in business. And she had said, follow the rules until you're able to make them yourself.
Oh, I actually believe that.
So do I. Okay, so let's talk about it. Like I heard that, I literally straight up stopped and was like, oh, "Damn!" Like I was like, "That was so good."
Same thing is like when people like want a seat at the table. Like at the same time, you do have to earn your seat at the table, and then you can be able to, sway the table. If that makes any sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, I'm glad that you like that too. I wasn't sure what your thoughts were going to be on that, but I feel like that is something that this new generation of workforce doesn't totally understand.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah. That you got to play by the rules and you got to follow the rules. People think that they just walk in and have that credibility and have that respect, but real talk, you don't. Like it's earned. It really is.
I do think you can widen those lines or boundaries.
100%.
Flex those rules. Yeah.
For sure. I think that's the only way that you are going to be able to start to get to that point where you can make your own rules. Yeah, you definitely have to walk that line a little bit for a while, but it's not immediate.
And I also think it depends on how, whatever your concerns are, let's say, you want to speak up about something. I think it's how it's delivered as well.
That's a good point.
To who it's delivered and, when. Because I think sometimes when you're complaining to someone, it has no decision-making power, then you just look like you're complaining. But if you're saying, hey, I might have a possible solution to someone who can actually make a difference in that, so when I started working here, we have achievements sometimes and they're rewarded with like cufflinks or ties or custom suits. While in my world, this is like all men. And I'm like, hello, I'm a chick.
What do I get?
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for these cufflinks, but they I don't feel like I did a great job, so that was something that I was like, hey, I think I would really like a gift card to Nordstrom. Like women want to have a lot of freedom in what they pick. Like, so great. Thank you so much for wanting to get me this, like a purse as a prize. I'm like, I don't want that. Like, I would rather, for me, like I want to stretch my dollar and I want to do it however I want to do it. So they really took that feedback into consideration where they, we're not rewarded, we're not merited on that stuff, but it's just like every now and then it'll be like, how many clients can we help this month? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we'll get rewarded with stuff like that.
So I want to expand on that a little bit because I think that's a really good point that I have not learned until recently in my career, that if you do think that there is a problem, maybe not even a problem, but like a hurdle, rather than just complaining about it, have a solution for it.
Yeah. And I do think the solution comes a little bit more positively from me because, I feel like I've earned it. I do a lot of work for us. I am really good with very political with, some things I don't enjoy and some things I enjoy, but I do my work and they respect that I do my work. And so they respect my opinion. There are other people that don't do the work and do come at it from a hey, we need to do this and stir things up. But it's like, you have to see the source where it's like, the common theme here is you're always stirring up trouble. So why do we want to,
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. But I would think you have good merit to ask for whatever you need, because you work hard and
right. I'm at that point now for sure. But that's something I'll go on to some other questions, but I wanted to just talk about that for a second, because I do think that that's something that a lot of people struggle with of, okay, how long do I just kind of allow myself to, like, you don't let your hard work get taken advantage of, but also don't jump in too soon because you haven't earned it yet. Like that's hard, honestly. So that's why I think, like, what would a solution, I personally think one solution would be have a mentor, someone who's further along than you, where you can ask them those questions. What other suggestions would you have for people when it comes to that fine line?
Yeah, I'm really big on the integrity of yourself. So if it's something that really needs to be said, maybe it's treatment of like how you're being treated in a particular meeting or something like that. I do think if your body is like, every time you go into a meeting, you're constantly feeling that, like, I'm not excited to go into this, then you probably should speak up about it sooner, because it's taking up a majority of your mind space, your energy, like you don't even enjoy
That's a good point.
That anymore. But if it's something like, I think one time my boyfriend said something to me that was initially, I was like, I didn't think anything of it. And then 10 seconds later, I was like, that's not right. That shouldn't be said to me ever. And then it was almost like it wasn't a big deal. And I made it a big deal because I thought I should make it a big deal. Right. And so I think, but at the end of the day, after 5 minutes, I was like, oh, it wasn't a big deal. Move on. Like, so the times like that, I don't think you should speak up. Like, it's like,
yeah,
it's not taking up your energy or space.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point, which I don't do that enough. Like, I don't listen to that instinct enough and actually take the time to like be self-aware about it. I'm just like, okay, on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing. But it's true. If something like that, whether it be like a conflict with a coworker, is draining all your energy, then how are you supposed to be successful at your job? Like, you need to figure that out. So I think that's a good point. Okay. That was the statement I wanted to make sure that we covered. Is there a question that you have for me? Otherwise I can keep asking away.
Mine is more of like, okay, being a woman in business, like, we go to all our networking events, everything we do is some form of sales in some aspect. And
yes,
how do you see it as a woman to feel respected? Because you are a young professional, what I mean? Like, how do you put that boundary down? Hey, we're here to talk about business.
There's a couple things that come to my mind. So that's one that I'm still learning, honestly, mostly because, I mean, my personality. People listening to this have probably picked up on my personality. I'm very loud.
I love everyone.
And bubbly. And like, I can come across as like, woohoo, like, yay, rather than like,
my friend.
Yeah, rather than like, okay, let's get shit done. We're here to take care of this. Yeah. So that one is definitely one that I'm still working on. What I will say is being prepared and knowing my shit is key for me. Yeah. Like, I will send a meeting agenda before the meeting happens. Yeah. I sit down at the meeting and I say, this is the goal of the meeting. Here's what we're going to get out of it. If we want to laugh and we want to talk about X, Y, and Z along the way, that's fine. But we need to make sure that we're covering this. Otherwise it's wasting both of our time. So like, I'm really big on upfront contracts with that, of like, the goal of today is this. Here's how we're going to do it.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point.
Yeah. And then, like I said, I mean, just knowing what I'm freaking talking about. Otherwise, like,
which I was going to say, that's actually a commonality and statistic between men and women, that women are more often, they feel more confident when they have more education behind it, or they know, versus a man will just jump in, like, wing it, right? So that's really interesting that you say that. Why do women feel like they have to have this credential or this before they can come to the table, right?
I mean, there's facts about that. Like, for example, if a male sees a job posting that he's only 70% qualified for, he'll still apply. Yeah. But if a female sees that, she won't, because she's not 100% qualified. It's just, I don't know. We are just, it's engraved in us to have to know everything before we go in. The other thing that I will say about kind of like laying down that respect and some of that research is I am huge on examples and making sure that I'm not the only one who feels that way. So I am constantly calling and questioning reps. I'm constantly calling and questioning directors. I'm asking questions all the time. So that way, when I do go into a meeting where maybe I don't know that person that well, but I have to be more of a leader in that element, I have examples to back me up. Because if they don't want, if you're not going to respect me and listen to me, I have examples and testimonials from this rep and that rep and this director that are all saying the same thing. So, if you don't want to listen to me, fine, screw you. But I have all these people saying the same thing. So I'm really big about like gathering data.
Yeah, that's really good. That's a really good tip.
Yay. Thanks. I have a question for you. So I struggle with imposter syndrome a lot. I think everyone does at some point in their careers. Mostly if we're talking, right now, some of the audience, they're going into a new career or their first career, whatever it is. I feel like imposter syndrome is inevitable. So my question, I struggle with that all the time. And I think part of that is definitely a confidence issue. But being a little bit further along in your career and probably battling that, how did you overcome imposter syndrome?
Yeah, that's funny. I feel like I don't come across that as often because I know in my heart and soul, like I will find an expert in that arena. So like if I don't know the planning in this area, I'll call home office, I'll call another rep, I'll call a rep that's an expert in that, I'll call CPA, Lord, like whatever I need. So I'm actually very big on like, I'll tell you where I'm strong, and I won't hesitate to tell you that I don't know the answer. And I think people really appreciate that, at least when it comes to my job. And I know where my strengths are, and I just keep going in the area that I'm strong. So I don't actually suffer from that as much, if that makes sense.
Well, I think part of that though is because, like you said, you utilize your resources. You're not afraid to delegate. I think some people with imposter syndrome feel like they have to know every single element and do it all by themselves. Because I know I've been there and still feel like that. And I was on the phone with a coworker yesterday saying, I feel like, because I'm having to redo our entire training program. And I'm like, I'm having imposter syndrome. And he goes, you're not by yourself doing this right now. He was like, what are you talking about? You have all of us to help you, So I think that's a really good point, that you don't put it all on yourself.
No. And then I do think when someone's putting you in that position, you have to understand that they trust you and they have the utmost confidence in that you're going to figure it out and you're going to make it happen. And you have to remember that, like, you also have to know that, they're not looking to you to be an expert in the area. Sometimes they're looking at you to get it accomplished. They trust that you can accomplish it. Does it make sense? Like,
yeah, I like that. Let's talk about key things that you think, like you're talking about being coachable right now. I think that's super freaking important. I think that's really important in a job. Like, what would you say are some of the main qualities that you look for in that people should have in their careers? Like, I think being coachable is a huge strength.
Huge strength. I think being curious.
I always say genuine curiosity is a superpower. I say that all the time.
So I know Eric Effett, which was the old CEO of Club Corp, and I remember him doing his talk on like being curious is one of the best things that you can have. So I think that is a big one. Being self-aware, I think, is a good one. Being coachable, like you said, is a good one. I don't know, what else would you say?
I have 3 minutes left.
Yeah.
Ask me, bring up a tough Spitfire. Your hair looks really long and pretty, by the way.
Super long.
Like, it can be something like lay it all out.
How do you know when to pull the plug?
How do you know when to pull the plug?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
you asked for a hard one.
Yeah, that is a good one. So my personal strategy, here's the deal. 70% of your job you're not going to like. Plain and simple. 70% of it you probably won't like. You got to make sure that the 30% that you do like outweighs the crap. I think too many people sometimes think that they're going to love 100% of their job. And when they don't, they quit and they look for another one. And then it's like they're on a hamster wheel of being disappointed. Like you're never going to.
Mine is flipped. I love like 85% of my job. And the 15% I don't like is just.
That's good.
It's the admin work, but I can obviously pay someone.
Right. Right. So that's fine. Go look for a job like that then, but still. You love your job, but there's still elements of it that you hate, but that doesn't mean that you're just going to say, peace out. I'm going to go find another. Like you will never love 100% of your job. So 1, keep that in mind. 2, if you are thinking about pulling the plug, I am a very firm believer in setting up a calendar date 3 months out to when you're feeling like that to do a check-in with yourself. So if I'm feeling like that right now, I just had to talk to a rep about this who is not doing so hot. Yeah. And I said, there's a lot of changes happening. I understand why you're feeling that way. If it will make you feel better to clean up your resume and connect with people, that's fine. But before you do anything drastic, set a date for 3 months from now to check in with yourself to see if you still feel that way. I think so often we make really drastic, I mean, that's a life-changing decision. That is. And so set a date.
I was going to say, to piggyback on that, you kind of addressed it on the second thing you could do, which is talk to someone. Hey, what are your concerns?
Yes.
Is there maybe a better position at the same company because you love the company, but you just don't like that specific position that maybe you can just pivot, right?
So 100%. Yeah. Be vocal about it. I was on the phone with a rep who has been with us for only like 2 or 3 years, but he's wanting to move to a new location. And he's like, I'm talking to other companies over there, but I really don't want to leave Henry Schein. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, why are you talking to other companies then? I'm like, go set up a meeting with your boss and let him know that you want to move to that location. He's like, oh, well, I feel like he'd be mad at me then. And I'm like, no, he would rather have you do that than all of a sudden you say, oh, here's my 2 weeks. I'm going to another company. So yes, if you're feeling that way, your boss would rather know that than it being too late where they can't have a conversation with you about opportunities.
Exactly. Good point. Should we give one more? And then
I would also, if you're feeling like you want to pull the plug with your job, I would take a second to take a look at your personal life. Is something going on with you personally that it's overpouring into your life professionally?
100%. I would agree with all those 3 points.
Oh, yay.
Well, we always appreciate you guys listening, and we love our Real Talks.
Thanks for listening, y'all. We'll see you next week. Bye, Tina.
Thank you so much for joining us.
If you like this podcast or think others would benefit from it, please be sure to like, subscribe, review, and share on all platforms, including iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram. We'll see you next time.